What's up guys, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. Last time I compared the CAT D11 Bulldozer with the Liebherr excavator, as they are both huge Control Plus sets with the same price, but I thought, to be fair, it would be great to bring you some other bulldozers and see which one wins. But before that, here are a few thoughts about the CAT. I received some great and helpful comments from you regarding the controls of the Dozer, thank you for that. Apparently this might be the correct way to drive it with the default layout. First you set the speed with the slider on the right, then use two fingers with the sliders on the left to brake each track and control speed, steering and direction at the same time. This makes more sense now, although I still prefer the alternate control screen with the joystick. Another topic in the comments was about the delay to switch the functions and what happens there exactly. I posted a short video yesterday on Facebook and Instagram showing what is going on. As you see, the motor driving the function shakes back and forth, meanwhile the gear selector motor rotates a bit, then both stops and only then comes the actual switch to the selected function. All this takes quite some time compared to the that simple let's switch the gear selector to the proper position action. So, why is it necessary? When I tested the gearbox with my powered up profile, there was no tension in the system as the model was not finished yet. There are scenarios, usually at the end points of the movement, when the output and due to this the whole gearbox is under tension. You can see here how the axles in the gearbox move slightly. Then comes the shaky process, and apparently the whole purpose is to remove the tension. The slight turn of the orange wave selector and the back and forth motion of the driving motor helps with that. Let's see what happens if you don't do that. With my powered up profile I can move the blade to the endpoint, then try to switch to the next function. As you see, the orange wave selector is unable to move the upper dark bluish grey driving ring, since the output stresses the gears and the driving ring gets stuck in the red gear. What if I rotate the output a bit backwards? It might help, but not all the time. Apparently the whole shaking and adjusting procedure of the Control Plus profile makes sense and helps to avoid jamming. So, at this point I don't think there would be an easy way to significantly reduce the time for the function switching, as these precautions are required due to the size, weight and structure of the model. Now let's see the two other contestants. The first one is the legendary 8275 Bulldozer, the first power function set ever, designed by Markus Kossmann, who was the designer of the CAT Bulldozer as well. And the other one is a custom B model of the 42100 Liebherr set, the Liebherr PR 776 Dozer, designed by Eric Trax. Let's start with the classic build. The 8275 was released in 2007. As I mentioned, this was the first set to include power functions components. It has two XL motors, two M motors, two IR receivers, a battery box and a remote. The set has 1384 pieces and the price back those days was $150. That would be roughly $200 today, and you can get used ones still around that price. As you see, we only have a single remote for the two IR receivers, so we have to use the switch on the remote to select the function to control. The first option is to control the tracks, each one with a lever. The small power functions IR remote does not have proportional speed control, but it's probably not needed here. The Bulldozer is pretty agile and it can climb well. The engine also works, but interestingly it is only connected to one of the motors driving the tracks, so it only works when that one is used. We need to switch to the other channel to use the other two functions. One of them controls blade elevation, the other one is used to raise and lower the ripper. Both of these are driven by the M motors through clutch gears, so they will stop once they hit the ground. It's a really nice and playable set if we consider the age. Does not offer tons of functions, but it's a great example of the studied Technic era and was a very good part spec for power functions. Now let's see a very different build, the custom B model of the Liebherr set. This is a mock, short for my own creation, designed by Eric Trax. Instructions are available on rebrickable.com for €15. All links can be found in my blog post that you can access by clicking on the info button in the top right corner, or you can find it in the description. As a custom B model, it only uses parts from the Liebherr set, and that already makes it very impressive. You will start to appreciate it even more if we compare the size with the CAT Bulldozer, considering the fact that it has 2 hubs and 6 motors squeezed in, compared to the 1 hub and 4 motors of the yellow giant. The build is pretty straightforward. I would not call it easy, but it should not be a problem if you have practice with bigger Technic builds. The manuals sometimes have a lot of things happening in a single step, and in some cases not every piece added is visible, but in general it has a decent quality. The placement of the length and piece count numbers can be confusing for the first sight, but you can get used to it. So, the building experience is great, and I think the look is also very impressive, especially if we think about the limited inventory of the Liebherr set. As you can see, you can build the model almost completely without the need of removing the original stickers. I have two here on the sprocket wheels, this one on this curved panel, and two small ones at the back. There's a custom sticker pack that you can get for the model. It is created by Technic projects. As I see, it is not available currently on the web page, so I cannot share you the details about it, but I suggest to drop him a message if you are interested. A custom powered up profile is required for the controls. There are detailed instructions for the setup. About the experience, it is really great. There are two sliders for the tracks, and the speed is pretty decent. The two joysticks control the blade and the ripper, and unlike the CAT Dozer, everything works simultaneously and very smoothly. Both the ripper and the blade can go below ground level, so the Dozer can actually lift itself up, which is quite a feat. All in all, I'm very impressed with this build. I'm not a real fan of construction machines, but as an unofficial B-model, this is really great. The only inconvenience I found is the placement of these system bricks on the sides. They can be easily knocked off during building and also when you try to pick up the model. So, this is how these three look together, a very cool lineup. And I'm sure you also want to see a race, so here is a speed comparison. Now let's see which one I would prefer from these three, but you probably already know my verdict. The classic Bulldozer is a nice nostalgic build, might be a good option if you want to stick to power functions, but honestly it cannot really compete with the look and functionality of the new generation. Comparing these two, I would say the custom Liebherr Dozer is the definite winner. The size is just about right, it is not huge just to be huge, it can even house more motors and hubs than the CAT, has more useful functions, and they can be operated simultaneously. The gearbox in the CAT is nice from a building experience perspective, but from a playability standpoint, the fact that we need to wait about 4 seconds to switch between each function gets annoying pretty soon. I honestly think this should have been the ideal size for the CAT as well. I know, at this scale the new wide tracks would not have been necessary, but I'm not sure if they are that useful or desired after all. It's also debatable what really useful play functions could a Bulldozer have, and whether it is really a requirement to operate the functions simultaneously, but as an overall experience, the custom Liebherr build feels simply smoother and easier to use. So, if we add the fact that this is a custom B model, meaning you have an original Liebherr to build and tons of other exciting alternate models, it is really a no-brainer for me. I would really only recommend the CAT if you are in love with huge yellow things, but at this point I see no other advantages for the same price. According to some news sites, the Liebherr is about to retire by the end of this year, so if you want to build this cool alternative model and the others, then I suggest to buy it as soon as possible. You can find some links in my blog post. So, I shared my view, now I would like to know yours. Which one is your favorite LEGO Technic Bulldozer? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe and tap the notification bell if you don't want to miss my upcoming LEGO reviews and other LEGO RC videos. See you next time, bye bye.